Welcome back into the Enrichment Sports Source. This segment of our show, we're going to kick it to Will Overstreet, who's going to take 2 minutes in our advanced football segment to explain to you what Tennessee's coaches should have been doing this past week.
Thanks, John. One of the things we want to talk about this week is about the offenses need and teams in general to self-scout themselves. So what I'm talking about is over a course of a year and a coaching staff, whoever it might be, is you develop tendencies of what you do in certain situations. So for instance, if you have a team with a zone read kind of playing system like we do now, is with different personnel or really with that down and distance with a certain player, with a quarterback for instance, you're going to actually see at times that teams are going to have broken down that when you're on your side of the 50, more than likely this quarterback more often than not is going to run the ball. He's going to take it on these kinds of down and distances. The other thing you see that, when you need to self-scout is your personnel. And basically, are you putting in there occasionally number 84 wide receiver? He comes into the game only in certain cases when you're trying to throw the ball deep. If you don't take a look at that, just naturally, that's his talent. You'll see him going in there more and more on those kinds of plays. The other big thing that we actually saw in a game one time against Alabama my sophomore year is actually the center. His offhand, where he placed it, determined if it was run or pass. So if his hand was on his hip, it was pass 100% of the time. If his offhand was on the ground, it was 100% run. It gives the defense a huge advantage. There's no tricking them. There's no ability to do play action pass because every single person knows what it's going to happen before it happens. The other one is down and distance. So a lot of times what you have to understand is, do you make certain calls on 3rd and 1 all the time, or 3rd and 2, or 2nd and 8? Any of those things can start leaning towards that defense and what the defensive coordinator is going to call, and for the players on the field as well. So for instance, in the NFL, we knew at a high percentage, 3rd down and 2 was going to most likely be a pass play, 3rd and 1 most likely a run play. All of these things are reasons you've got to look at yourself and make sure your players and the way you're calling the game are not giving that defense an advantage in certain situations to be able to exploit that and know what's coming next. So John, hopefully Tennessee has guys changing in and out, that they're looking at that and being able to continue to make those changes, because as you get more tape, you show a lot more of your hand. Back to you.
All right, thanks to Will Overstreet. Very quickly, guys, Vanderbilt's defense, not the best in the SEC, but they're +9 in turnovers, +8 in their last 2 games. They've gotten 8 turnovers off Florida and Kentucky, 7 interceptions. So very quickly, Tennessee's offense going to be ready for Vanderbilt's opportunistic defense, in your opinions?
Yes, I think if Tennessee doesn't turn the ball over more than twice, I think they'll be in good shape. I think Tennessee's offense, one of their problems to me has been their lack of speed at running back. I think Tennessee's offensive line has played a little bit better lately, opened some holes. I don't think that that's going to be the glaring weakness against Vanderbilt that we've seen in the previous 3 ball games.
I think so. Vanderbilt's, you mentioned those numbers, and I think they've had 16 turnovers in 4 games. So I don't know if all of them are created. Sometimes you're lucky,
right.
Sometimes you make them, sometimes you make your breaks. I would like to think Tennessee has not been typically just a turnover fest team. So Dobbs has to be careful with the football. Tennessee's backs haven't fumbled it that much. So I think they'll be okay in that regard, I think.
Very quickly.
I do too. I think Dobbs will learn from, he's got 2 games under his belt now,
right.
and Jimmy's right. The running backs have not fumbled a lot.
And if you do not force some turnovers, and we haven't seen that much of all from Tennessee in this skid, they have not forced nearly enough turnovers. If you lose the turnover battle to Vanderbilt, you lose the game.
Okay, well, big statement. I'll say this about Tennessee. If ever there were 2 games where you want to use your offensive line and run it down the other guy's throat, to me, it's Vanderbilt and Kentucky. This is proving time. So I would turn it over to that run game and see what they could do, take the pressure off Dobbs. When we come back, we ride the lightning. It's the lightning round next.